You just booked your dream cruise. 7 nights in the Caribbean, balcony cabin, all-inclusive pricing. You saw the fare, added it up, budgeted for flights and excursions, and hit confirm. 2 weeks before departure, you get the invoice. And suddenly, that $2,400 cruise is closer to $3,800. You stare at the charges, gratuities, service fees, resort fees, convenience charges, things you never agreed to, things that weren't in the original price, and now you're wondering what went wrong. Here's what actually happened. The cruise industry has quietly shifted to an unbundled pricing model over the last several years. What used to be included in your fare is now itemized, optional, or mandatory, but hidden until later in the booking process. Some of these fees are legitimate. Others are revenue tactics designed to make the base fare look competitive while extracting profit on the back end. And in 2026, these fees are not only still here, they're getting more aggressive. Most travelers don't know what to look for until it's too late. By then, you're either paying or canceling. This video breaks down the 11 cabin fees that will show up on your booking, your invoice, or your onboard account, and explains exactly why they exist, whether you can avoid them, and what they actually cost. Let's start with the basics. When you see a cruise fare advertised, that number represents the cost of your cabin and access to the ship. It includes your room, most dining venues, entertainment, pools, and basic activities. It does not include almost anything else. The advertised price is a starting point. It's not the final cost. Cruise lines separate the fare from the fees for one reason: competitive pricing. If they included everything up front, the base rate would look higher than the competition. So they strip it down, show you the lowest possible number, and add the rest back in as you move through the booking funnel or as you board the ship. It's not illegal. It's not even uncommon in the travel industry, but it catches people off guard if they don't know the system. The first fee that hits most cruisers is gratuities, also called service charges or crew incentives. These are daily fees added per person, per day, and they go toward compensating dining staff, cabin stewards, and other service personnel. As of 2026, most major cruise lines charge between $16 and $18 per person per day for standard cabins, and between $18 and $21 per person per day for suite guests. On a 7-day cruise with 2 people in an interior cabin, that's roughly $250. For a family of 4, it doubles. These fees are automatically added to your onboard account unless you prepay them during booking. Some lines let you adjust or remove gratuities at the guest services desk, but it's discouraged and often requires a conversation with a manager. The cruise lines frame this as a convenience. In reality, it shifts the responsibility of fare wages onto passengers, while keeping base fares artificially low. Next is the beverage package ups, which isn't technically a cabin fee but functions like one because it's tied to your booking and often required for both guests in the same cabin. If you want alcohol, specialty coffee, or unlimited soda, you'll pay between $60 and $100 per person per day, depending on the package tier. The cruise line will remind you during booking that individual drinks cost $12 to $15 each, so the package seems like a deal. And if you drink enough, it is. But here's the catch. Most lines require all adults in the same stateroom to purchase the same beverage package. You can't have one person buy it and the other skip it. That policy alone doubles the cost for couples where only one person drinks. And if you don't buy the package, you're still paying for drinks, just a la carte. Either way, it's additional revenue that wasn't in the base fare. Then there's the service fee on specialty dining. Most cruise ships have included dining rooms where meals are free, but they also have upscale restaurants that charge a cover fee or prefix rate. These range from $30 to $75 per person, depending on the venue. The fee doesn't replace gratuities. It's added on top, and it includes an automatic 18% service charge. So that $50 steakhouse dinner is actually closer to $60 after the built-in tip. Some cruise lines bundle a certain number of specialty dining experiences into higher-tier cabin bookings. But for standard cabins, every reservation comes with a charge. It's presented as optional, which it is, but the marketing pushes you toward these venues as part of the premium experience. And once you're on board and the included dining feels repetitive, the upsell becomes harder to resist. Cruise lines also charge what they call a resort fee or facility fee in certain regions or on certain itineraries. This is less common than hotel resort fees, but it's starting to appear more frequently, especially on sailings that dock at private islands or resorts owned by the cruise line. The fee covers use of beach chairs, umbrellas, water sports equipment, and sometimes shuttle transportation. It ranges from $15 to $40 per person depending on the destination. It's not included in your cabin fare, and it's often not disclosed until you review your final itinerary or check your onboard account. The logic is that the infrastructure at these private destinations costs money to maintain, but travelers reasonably assume that if they paid for a cruise that stops at the cruise line's own island, access to that island is included. Wi fee is another fee that surprises people because it's both expensive and slow. Most ships charge between $15 and $30 per day for a single device package. Family or premium plans that cover multiple devices or streaming capability can run $60 to $100 for the entire cruise. The connection is satellite-based, which limits bandwidth and increases cost. You're paying luxury hotel prices for connectivity that's closer to dial-up in terms of reliability. Some cruise lines now include basic Wi-Fi in suite bookings or as a loyalty perk. But for standard cabins, it's an add-on, and if you don't buy it before you sail, the onboard price is usually higher than the pre-cruise rate. It's a classic early bird pricing tactic designed to capture the sale before you realize you might not need it. Port fees and taxes are legitimate government-mandated charges, but they're listed separately from the cruise fare and they're not always clear in the initial advertising. These fees cover things like docking rights, customs processing, immigration clearance, and local tourism taxes. They vary by itinerary and can add anywhere from $50 to $300 per person to your total cost. The cruise line has no control over these charges. They're required by the ports and countries you visit, but because they're separated from the fare and the booking breakdown, they feel like an extra fee. It's not deceptive, but it does mean the price you see in the ad is never the price you actually pay. Always add at least $100 per person in port fees to any advertised cruise rate when budgeting. Onboard credit sounds like a perk, but it often comes with restrictions that function like a fee if you're not careful. Some travel agents or credit card companies offer onboard credit as a booking incentive. You might get $50 or $100 to spend on the ship, but that credit usually can't be applied to gratuities, taxes, or certain purchases. It expires at the end of the cruise, and if you don't use it, you lose it. This encourages passengers to spend money they otherwise wouldn't, often on things that exceed the credit amount. For example, you use your $50 credit toward a $120 shore excursion, and now you're out $70 you didn't plan to spend. It's not a fee in the traditional sense, but it's a behavioral nudge that results in incremental spending. Cabin location fees are a newer development. Some cruise lines now charge a premium for cabins in certain parts of the ship, even within the same category. For instance, balcony cabins with identical layouts might have different prices based on proximity to elevators, noise levels, or deck height. The more desirable locations cost more. This isn't new in terms of pricing logic, but it used to be absorbed into the general fare structure. Now it's itemized. You'll see it listed as a location surcharge or premium placement fee. It can add $50 to $200 to your fare depending on the ship and the demand for that specific cabin. It's avoidable if you're flexible, but if you have mobility concerns or preferences, you're paying extra for something that used to just be part of cabin selection, cancellation, and interruption. Insurance is almost always offered during booking, and the cruise line makes it sound essential. The fee ranges from $50 to several $100s depending on the length of the cruise and the cost of your fare. The policy covers trip cancellation due to illness, weather, or emergencies, and sometimes includes medical evacuation coverage. It's not required, but the booking interface often defaults to including it unless you manually opt out, and the language around opting out is designed to make you second-guess the decision. It'll say something like, "Are you sure you want to travel unprotected?" The insurance itself may be useful depending on your situation, but many travelers don't realize they already have coverage through their credit card or existing travel insurance. The cruise line's version is rarely the cheapest or most comprehensive option, but it's the most convenient to add at checkout, which is why it converts. Automatic photography packages are less common now, but some cruise lines still charge a daily fee for professional photos taken on board. The fee is added to your account automatically, and if you don't want the service, you have to opt out at guest services. It's typically $5 to $15 per day. The photos themselves cost extra if you want prints or digital copies. The daily fee just gives you access to view them. It's a low-value charge that feels like a shakedown because most people don't use the service. But many don't notice the charge until they review their final bill. If you're aware of it, you can decline on embarkation day, but it requires action on your part. The default is enrollment. Lastly, there's the fuel surcharge or environmental fee. This is a relatively recent addition that shows up on some itineraries, particularly longer voyages or cruises in regions with strict environmental regulations. The fee is positioned as a way to offset rising fuel costs or compliance with emission standards. It typically ranges from $10 to $50 per person. It's not negotiable and it's added after booking in some cases, which makes it feel like a baton switch. The cruise line will argue that fuel prices fluctuate and they need flexibility to adjust. But from a consumer perspective, it's another line item that wasn't in the original advertised price. Here's the reality. These fees exist because the cruise industry operates on thin margins when it comes to base fares. The ships are expensive to build and maintain. The fuel costs are high. The labor is international and complex. To stay competitive on price comparison sites, cruise lines strip down the advertised rate and rebuild the cost through fees. Some of these fees are mandatory. Others are opt-in but heavily marketed. A few are avoidable if you know what to look for, and you're willing to skip certain conveniences. The issue isn't that fees exist. The issue is transparency. Many of these charges aren't disclosed until after you've emotionally committed to the booking. You've picked your cabin, imagined yourself on the balcony, started planning excursions. By the time the fees show up, you're less likely to walk away. It's a conversion tactic. And it works because most people don't read the fine print or don't want to restart the search process with another line. If you're cruising in 2026, assume your final cost will be at least 30 to 40% higher than the advertised fare. That includes gratuities, port fees, and a modest amount of onboard spending. If you drink alcohol or want specialty dining, add another 20 to 30%. If you're bringing kids, factor in additional gratuities and activity fees. If you want Wi-Fi, prepay it. If you're booking a balcony or suite, check for location surcharges. If travel insurance makes sense for your situation, buy it from a third party and compare the coverage. The cruise lines aren't going to change this model. It's too profitable. And as long as consumers keep comparing cruises based on the lowest advertised fare, the unbundling will continue. The only way to avoid surprises is to know what's coming and build it into your budget from the beginning. So before you book your next cruise, add up the real cost. Don't just look at the fare. Look at the fees. Look at the automatic charges. Because that $2,400 cruise is never actually $2,400. And the sooner you accept that, the better you can plan. What fees caught you off guard on your last cruise? Drop a comment below. If this breakdown helped you avoid a surprise charge, hit the like button and subscribe for more cruise planning tips. Next video, we're covering shore excursions and whether the cruise line's tours are worth the premium, or if you should book independently. Until then, cruise smarter.